There are 4,218 PS2 games, and I'm beating every one of them. I've got to own the game because I'm playing everything on the original hardware, but I've beefed it up with a RetroTink 5X, some component cables, and more to come soon. Can I do this before I die of old age? I hope so. Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus was developed by Sucker Punch Productions and released in the US of September of 2002. Scores for the game were high, and it's regarded as one of the best stealth platforming games ever made. Sadly, a movie and TV series were announced some time ago, but nothing ever came of it. Can I beat this stealth platformer? Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus is a great platformer in the same vein as Jak and Daxter as well as Ratchet and Clank that everyone always says, hey, it's like the triple feature on the PS2, these awesome platforming games, and finally someone recommended it, so I played and beat it. And let's go through the journey because it's a really fun game. Let me go ahead and start by going over how the story works, because there aren't a lot of twists and turns. This game follows the story pretty faithfully all the way through until the very end of the game. But here's what happens. Sly Cooper, when he was young, had his father killed by one of the members of the Fiendish Five, a clockwork owl that does not like his line of ancestors. And after he killed his father, he took the Thievius Raccoonus, a book that the thieves kept with all of their special abilities inside of that will help you steal things because they are a line of thieves. So after this, he was very young, he was taken to an orphanage, he met his friends Bentley and Murray, and as he got older, he was finally able to start pulling off his own thefts. And once he did, he realized that if he stole a file based on his family line, they would be able to find all the members of the Fiendish Five, and they could go get back the parts of the book that they stole, as well as get revenge for killing his father. That's pretty much it. We go through the whole game trying to get to each member of the Fiendish Five until we take care of them. And once we take care of them, we get a brand new move that we can use for the later levels. And that's really cool. I like that. It fills the pages of the book that we're getting, and it teaches you a new move. Now, while we're doing this, we are followed by this woman here, Carmelita, who is... I don't know how she hasn't caught us yet. She is super buff, dude, and our guy's a little gangly dude running around. She's crazy. So she follows us. She's from Interpol, and she's trying to stop us. She's practically, police officer, trying to stop us from doing our thefts, and even follows us all the way to the Fiendish Five and watches us take down each member. And after we take down a member, she comes in and puts them in jail. So I guess, welcome to her. This game is primarily a stealth game, but not in the same way something like Metal Gear Solid is. There are different places that you can sneak along that have these blue little sparkles to show where you can go. You must sneak past some enemies and some camera systems and things like that, but you will be smacking enemies and really just jumping along rooftops and swinging along places that will get you further along. It's more like stealth in essence rather than in practice. You aren't always stealthing past everything. You can kill things just fine. However, he does have only one health point, unless you collect 100 coins. As you're going through the levels, you can collect coins, and if you collect 100 of them, you get an extra hit for that life only, and if you collect 200 coins, you get an extra life. It makes the game a little bit more difficult, but it does make you rely on stealth a little bit more. Each member of the Fiendish Five that you visit has a series of stages in a kind of hub world, and the only goal for each hub world is to complete each stage and get the keys. The keys will then unlock the way to the boss, where you then fight them, and that's the same all the way through. Now, you'll be using Sly most of the time. However, there are some extra cool mini-games like driving around in a car with Murray and doing some hacking stuff. You also use some turret sections where Sly will save Murray from running around, or Bentley, or whoever happens to be at the time. And you don't always do just Sly missions, but most of them are Sly missions, and eventually you'll find them throughout each of the different stages and hub worlds. And they're honestly fun. You don't have to go through each stage multiple times. You don't have to go through collecting stuff. However, you can find bottles around each of the levels in the hub worlds that will give you access to the safes, that will get you some new abilities, new items that you can use if you would like to. You don't have to, but if you do, you will find it a little bit easier to play the game. After the initial introduction and little tutorial level where we get the police report with all members of the Fiendish Five, we go to our first hub world, which is the Isle of Terror. And this is where the frog, Sir Raleigh, is, and he just kind of makes like robots and machines, and he actually uses them to keep his island safe by wrecking ships around the area and looting them and making it hard for anyone to actually get to the island because he seems a little bit like a scaredy cat. I'm not sure. Alright, this first stage needs us to get 3 keys, and so we have 3 levels to do just that. Once we get through the levels, we get keys for these locks. As you can see here, some of the guards have flashlights, and if you stand in those lights, of course they catch you and they'll hit you. But you can hit them first and kill them in pretty much one hit. The stages are fairly open, enough for you to kind of get around however you want to, although the ends of the levels are a little bit more linear, making you funnel towards where the key is going to be and giving you some challenges to finally get there. You can't jump in water. This game you can't swim, at least not right here, and so the whole goal is to get to the key and get out of here safely. I really like the level design for pretty much all of the game. They're very detailed sections with a lot going on. You need to really watch out for all the stuff that can come your way. Obviously, stealthing is very helpful, making sure you hide behind things and survey the area before you go. That way you don't just get bopped by a bunch of dudes who come up to you, because like I said, you have 1 health. You get killed right away. So you'll need to collect coins too, not just for free lives, but you know, that extra hit each level is really helpful. I mean, you know, it's make 1 mistake and you're gonna die. So if you get enough coins to get an extra hit, making 1 mistake at least affords you a little bit more time to play the level, because once you lose your lives, you have to start the entire level over. When you die, there are checkpoints, unlike games like Wolverine's Revenge, and the checkpoints are helpful, and you have a certain number of lives you can get. I said every 2 coins you get an extra life, or every 200 coins you get an extra life, so that's not impossible to do. This game is not that hard, but it is still a challenging experience, and I think a lot of people say that because of the 1 health. Here's a fun little stealth section. Yeah, I'm in a barrel and I gotta crawl around inside of it, and if these little turrets see me, they will shoot me full of darts. Obviously, because I have the barrel on, it doesn't hurt me, and I keep the barrel on as long as possible, and then sit still when a guy with a flashlight comes by, and he can't do crap to me. This first set of stages isn't too bad, and once I collected the 7 keys to actually get into the boss fight, I'm able to go fight Sir Rally himself. The boss fights in this game are really well done. You get to see the boss's health bar, and they'll have a few mechanics that you have to deal with, and once you figure it out, it's not too difficult to take care of them. And luckily, you're able to start right back from the beginning of the boss fight when you die, especially some of them that have 1-hit kills all over the place. You gotta pay attention to what they're doing and try and get out of the way because, again, you have 1 health. Upon beating a boss, we open up the vault and we get a new move from our book. And these are our members of our family from the past who tell us how to do really cool things, and apparently just explaining how they do it allows us to now do it. But hey, I really like this new move, like the way you get new moves in this game. It's just kind of neat, you know? Like you're getting this book that your family has kept so that you can learn how to be a better thief. And, well, you're learning how to be a better thief all the while. I love these animated cutscenes coming into a new level. They're just so good. They're just so good, man. So the next boss fight we have to do is Mugshot, this huge bulldog who, when he was younger, was bullied and eventually, finally, bulked up big time and started beating up the bullies. Well, now he himself has become a bully, so we have to take care of things. I mean, obviously he helped kill our family, so that's not cool of him. So let's go take care of him using our new move, which allows us to perch upon the tops of like pointy objects, kind of like these. They'll have a little blue glow on them, and if you jump towards them, you should magnetically go right to them. There are some issues with this sometimes. Generally, it's fairly good. It works well. But there were a couple times where I jumped at one of those and I just fell right off. I didn't even grab onto it. It's few and far between, but it is something to mention. Here is my first-person level where I must fire little things at guys coming after our friend here, and he has to make it all the way up to the top of this area, and he's got to go through these little maze-like structures. You've got to watch out for enemies because he dies in one hit, but he does go to run and hide. It makes it easy because everything happens the same each time, so if you mess up and you have to restart, you know, you just follow exactly what happened last time. They come out of the same places, they attack the same way, so once you memorize it, it's not too hard. So we've got all these dogs patrolling the area, they've got flashlights, they've got guns, and they're in this big casino where this bulldog Mugshot makes a bunch of money. So we've got to dismantle his whole casino. Here I actually collect enough bottles to get the combination for this locker in one of the levels. I don't do this very often, but someone said maybe you'll like this one because I talked about doing some cool things in the game, and maybe I could get them. And so this one's like a slow motion jump, and it slows down time while I'm in the air, which is cool. I don't use it all that often, but these little abilities you can get in levels are fun. They make the game more interesting without having to beat a boss. You can go look around the level and find the bottles to open the safe and get some cool abilities. Sometimes in the middle of a level, Miss Fox will show back up to try and stop us, and she is relentless. She will follow you for a while until she can't follow you anymore. She fires a gun at you, which is usually explosive and hits the ground and makes a large area of effect, so you've got to watch out for it. You have to move quickly. Most of the time whenever she shows up, you've got to move quick. So she attacks us. I really like this section as well, all of these sections where she's following us, because it makes you move quickly across this almost 2D-ish space. It's like a 2.5D space where instead of trying to go through the level like normal, you have a series of areas that you can jump back and forth to, and you just need to keep avoiding her shots. It makes it easy to funnel where you're supposed to go. You understand the direction the game wants you to go. You just gotta avoid her shots, and I don't know, this game just has a lot of fun to it. The racing minigame. A minigame a lot of people don't like because it is difficult. The cars, the AI, are really hard to fight against, and they are fast, and if you make mistakes, you're practically done. You have to get first place, and to do that, you need to drive well. Now, the odd thing about this is that you use the left analog stick to hold forward and turn to drive, rather than holding a button like X to drive forward, which is admittedly a little annoying. Obviously this game is not about driving, but once you get here, you gotta learn how to do it because it's mandatory. It is necessary to beat this to get the last key for this area, which is, for me, the last one. I didn't even realize it was over here. Now, it took me a few tries, and I was able to be successful fairly quickly. You can pick up little nitro boosts in the level, which do help, although they don't make you go so fast that it completely eliminates them out of your way. Like, you need to be careful. Some of these are out of the way. The turbo pickups are out of the way. Some of them will have you slamming into stuff if you don't watch out. So picking them up is not always necessary. You just need to drive well the entire time. And once I finally get used to the driving, I'm able to do it. In fact, the next race I do in 1 or 2 tries, but it's still not easy. It's not an easy thing in a game that does not really work well as a driver. I mean, this is fine. It almost reminds me a little bit of rock and roll racing, but it's not rock and roll racing. Okay, so luckily for me, I was able to pick up this cool rolling ability, which helps me get away from Mugshot's shots that he fires at you. If you dodge roll, you get out of the way of his bullets, and if he hits you once, you're dead. So you gotta do is you gotta get these mirrors turned around and light up all the spots here, because then it hurts him. He's like a hard dude to hurt. You gotta hurt him in a weird way, and then it breaks his guns, and we move on to a different part of the boss fight. We continue moving up inside the room, and you have to watch where he's going to fire, because he's going to fire and you need to be behind one of these mirrors. So you have to time your jumps just right so he doesn't hit you. You don't have a way to dodge. You must hide behind the mirrors to beat this part of the boss fight. Our next Fiendish 5 member is Miss Ruby, and she is an interesting boss fight. She is an alligator who apparently does some kind of voodoo, but we are in the swamp and must navigate our way through a swampy area, and her boss fight out of everything in this game is the weirdest one, although a very fun one still. The swamp is filled with bugs and creatures and lots of water or swamp to fall in, and it's very easy to fall in the swamp. There's a lot of stuff going around here, and you gotta run from a big beast. It's just so hard to get away from the water sometimes, and I think that's the point. Once you get good at controlling Sly, you won't be falling in the water as often, and honestly, this only took me about 7 hours to complete, so it's not that long of a game even with the 1 life and all the 1-hit kills. I like that the levels here are decently sized, but feel bigger because there are a lot of vines and things to climb up. So the level is several layers on top of itself in different areas, making the level feel even bigger than it already is. So they can keep the level design smaller and do this kind of layer vertical style and get more out of a level. And that's always appreciable because games cannot be enormous until nowadays when you have these huge open worlds. But open worlds don't mean more fun, it just means that they design them differently. And with the way that these games work, trying to keep a stable frame rate, trying to keep a game that runs well, having a smaller level with layers like this making it feel bigger is perfect. I really like the design for a lot of these types of games on the PS2 when they do this stuff. Vertical layers and different parts of the stage wrapping around on themselves is wonderful. So bravo to the team for working so well on making these things work together. Oh yeah, there's the monsterish thing following us. It's hard to turn around and look at it because while the camera's forcing you to look at where this monster is, you need to be looking forward so you know where to go because you need to move fast. If you don't move fast enough, I mean, you can probably imagine what happens. He gets you. So you gotta keep the camera moving forward so you can move too, because it's so easy to miss this stuff. Like I said, you're supposed to be magnetized to the hook areas and these small, thin branches and the areas you land on for the points that you just learned from the last guy. You just gotta be careful, so keep the camera forward. This is an interesting little dude, pulling his head off, throwing it, and it's flaming, and then it just suddenly reappears back on his head. Yeah, no, sure, by all means, throw your flaming, disembodied head. I gotta play this stupid minigame where I've gotta get these little chickens, but some of the chickens have bombs, they're like special ones, so I just gotta roll around and smack the chickens and not let those guys blow me up, because I die in one hit. I've gathered all of the keys, and now I must fight Ms. Ruby, and her boss battle was surprisingly what the crap. She is this, it's this weird, like, button contextual sensitive thing she throws at you, and it's all in rhythm to the song, and she will sing out the rhythm, and you must see what buttons she throws out and what order she throws them out. As it goes on, it gets faster and harder, and she adds more buttons into it, and you do have to time it properly. There are some slight timing issues in my experience. I'm not sure if it's because I'm dumb, I'm not sure if it's because of my controller, I'm not sure if it's because the frame window is tight, but it is hard, and luckily the boss battle isn't very long, but getting further into this and losing and then having to start all over does feel a little disheartening. You get so excited getting through this, you're like, oh man, look at this, I'm doing so well, and then she throws a big long combo at you of a bunch of different buttons, and you have to time it perfectly, so I'm sitting here like humming along to myself what she did, because she makes these noises when she throws out each of the different symbols for the buttons, so if you do them back, it'll help you kind of orient yourself to what you need to press, but man, when you get to the end here, it's easy to fail. We unlock the ability to become somewhat invisible so that people can't see us very easily, which is kind of helpful. Our next Fiendish 5 member is Panda King, and he likes pyrotechnics, just like everyone else. And he throws a bunch of fire, he does some cool melee moves and stuff, and we gotta go stop him because he's an ass, and he's been blowing up some villages or taking their he's been being terrible, so we gotta go stop this dude. We have a few more stealth sections here. Obviously, we need to get under this windowsill or window lining so these guys can't see us. And these sections are just fine for stealth. I'm not good at stealth games, but this is absolutely doable and not even that hard to do for someone who sucks at stealth. I really like the aesthetic for this level, these snowy mountains. There's just so much detail and effort put into making these levels look nice, just like Jak and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank. They just do such a good job. It's hard not to praise them constantly because these games are just so much fun. Where are these games now again these days? Like, give us some more games like this. I'm going to mention this here once because it was an issue I had a few times, but only a few times, and I'm not sure if it's just this part of the game. But you were able to jump and have your little hook onto these things and swing across. I had a lot of issues with the game magnetizing me to the hooks when I got close. Sometimes it made sense, obviously I was a little bit off, but other times I felt like I was practically touching the hook and it did not let me hook on. As you see here, I just kind of don't. It's almost like your character's model has to touch the hook, but then other times I do just fine and there's no issues. It's almost like it's just here, and I don't know if it was me, my controller, it could be a number of things, but I figured it was something interesting to mention. It does not change my score because, again, it only happened right here and then never again. Alright, we've got another one of those so-called racing levels. This is the one that I beat about the second time through. I get used to the track pretty quickly. The tracks are short enough that it's like, you know, whatever. You can memorize how the track goes. A lot of it's like watching where you're about to jump and hoping that you can jump somewhere and land for a good turn. And after I get used to the controls even better here, I'm like prepared for more racing, but I think this is the last race there is. There's this one mission where I must ride this cute little device around. It's almost like a bike with a little gun on the front of it. It's kind of odd for a stealth game to have me doing this, but it's not bad. It's fun. The controls are easy. You shoot this thing and you get to the end and get the key. It wasn't hard, so I mean, worth it to do something fun. Oh my god, this woman again. Why doesn't she just confess her love for me? Because I feel like I'm doing it for her and she's just not reciprocating. Instead, she's trying to kill me. Well, someone needs help again, and these guys are even bigger. Love the way he runs too. Look at the animation of him run. He just shakes all around. I don't know. It's very cute. I love the animations in this game. The Panda King boss fight really isn't too bad. Every time you hit him a little bit, he will knock you away, and as you get closer, he will use some melee type fire moves at you. There's only a couple of them that he does, and as his health gets lower, he does new ones. So as long as you can pay attention to what he's about to do, you can dodge them pretty easily, smack him a couple times, and repeat. Once you do this, he's done. Our next ability isn't actually an ability, it's more of a weapon that we can put on top of our van that we've been driving, because now we have to assault Clockwork, the big owl's lair, and the only way to do that is to equip this thing with a huge machine gun that Sly can use, and that's fine. The last level doesn't really have as much to it as the other levels, so this big machine gun's kind of neat. And just as I said, we've got to shoot this machine gun at different mines on the floor. We're going slowly up to his base. We got to fight stuff in the sky. It's pretty easy to die here. This part is fairly difficult, especially for a turret section. Although it's still fun. This game is just overall very fun. Okay, I lied about the driving part, but there's no race here. We're supposed to be destroying and picking things up, and if we can do it faster than these little dudes around here, we can actually win this minigame, and that's it. It is kind of difficult. You really need to be boosting around and like flinging around and zipping around to grab these things, because the first time I lost, I didn't even realize I was that far behind, because those things are also collecting data. We must collect more data than them first. Okay, well, we have to turn good guy towards the fox because she beat us here and got captured. So we must help her by slowly getting our way through this area. This area is very difficult. I mean, it's literally set up as you're not supposed to be able to make it through here in the Clockwork owl's eyes. And to do that, you have to do very specific things and watch out for all these lights, electricity, the lava, and you have to make it to her to save her. Also, there's this cute little section that almost feels like an Asteroids or something like that game where you zip around as the turtle in your party and shoot these little blocks of data. If you get hit, you only have so many lives, and then you got to restart. You got to pick this data up, and as you break the rocks, they break and go all around, and there's some enemies that will attack you as well. You really have a lot to pay attention to, and this is pretty much the only time we do this. Oh, this time Sly's trying to get up, and we control one of the other characters, saving him from monsters. It's kind of weird, though, because Sly is absolutely capable of fighting these things himself, but, I mean, you know, I guess they're big lava slime things. I'm not really sure what they are, but they're creepy as shit. Rising lava through different little sections of platforming is always a good time. It's difficult though, I'll tell you what, it's difficult, but at least it's set up well, it's a lot of fun, and it feels good when you beat it. I mean, there are games that can do this very wrong, and this one did it well. They really cared about how the player felt when they're playing. Alright, we are finally here at the last boss, and this guy is tough. We have this cool jetpack, and the fox is actually helping us. She's creating holes in his armor so that we can fire at him and hurt him. And every time she fires at him, we've got to fire at the spot that she hits him with. And you can tell, obviously, there's like this little force field around it. So it's a fun boss fight. You have to dodge his projectiles. You don't use any of your other abilities in this boss fight. Your abilities are more for the levels and stuff like that, not the boss fight so much. Unless the boss fight features it exclusively, then you're just going to be doing whatever the boss fight demands of you. I mean, like Miss Ruby's fight was way different. It was just pressing X, square, circle, and triangle as much as you wanted. So this guy is good. He's got a couple phases. The nice thing is that if you lose all of your lives, and you fought him once already, of course, the cutscene at the beginning does not play. In fact, it does not stop and have him talk to you. It will just continue through and start the boss battle immediately. An extremely awesome quality of life feature missing from many games of this era. letting you skip things, and it doesn't even force you to push a button. The game knows you've already seen the cutscene. It already knows you know what's going on, so it just skips straight to the boss battle. Awesome, thank you, because he is tough. The places that you need to hit on his body are sometimes out of the way enough that you must aim well. And if you can't, and you have one life, one health, you get killed very quickly. So after you get through one of his phases, he starts another one. You do have to start from the beginning if you die and lose all your lives, but that's not a big deal because it's not that long of a boss fight. The hardest part is probably this last part where he's sitting in the lava and you must jump across wreckage and avoid the lasers in the lava and avoid stuff coming out of his body that he's shooting at you. You've really got to pay attention because there are so many things going on and you must land in the exact right spot to dodge things. It's hard, and then you go up and whack him a couple times and he is done. Once he's done, the fox turns around and tries to arrest you, but because you helped her, she says, "I'm going to give you a 10-second head start." Sly stands there staring at her while she counts to 10. She's obviously very confused, and instead of running, he walks right up and kisses her on the face, and then locks her in handcuffs on the railing. And she obviously is smitten by him. They like each other. It's just hard to, it's hard for them to say their true feelings. You know, she's part of Interpol and she doesn't want to look unprofessional. I don't know what it is, but obviously he gets away from her by doing that. And it's a fun little time. This game has such charm to it. So the end of the game is over. We did it. Game number 94 beaten. Sly Cooper is done. The first of many Sly Cooper games. Now at the very end, it does show the Clockwork Owl's eye open. So he's not completely dead. So we've got more games to play, and I'm excited. I want to play each of the Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper games because they're all so cool. So this game on my tier list got an A, a very high A. I don't know what would make it an S. I'm not sure if there would be a thing. Maybe like the car sections be gone, the boss battles be a little bit more like, you know, the Miss Ruby's boss battle was interesting, but it doesn't fit the spirit of the game in my opinion. And the one health thing, you know, I could give or take, I suppose. It wasn't that bad. I was able to beat it. It's not like it was impossible, but I really like this game. So game number 94 is done. Thank you everyone who has stayed this long to watch the video. Thank you so much to all the people in the stream who helped me through the game and watched me fail a bunch of times. And thank you to all the membership holders, Patreon, YouTube, and Twitch. Thank you guys so much. It makes these games possible. And just, I appreciate everyone on the channel. This has been such a fun challenge. I've gotten to play games I've never played, and they're just so much fun. So thank you once again. I'll be back for the video number 95 soon. Later.